I want to make sure that the public understands that we've been very diligent in addressing the issues of how the local neighborhoods are being affected. So in this resolution, you can see verbiage that speaks to green space, open space, issues that deal with job training, issues that deal with local benefits, and that is in writing in this document. I know there are other areas we want to explore, but I still think we have time to do that between now and the end of this process. So I thank you, Mr. Miller, for your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to try to keep this simple, there's a whole public comment period surrounding CEQA that is completely unrelated to this, right? So
that's correct. The draft EIR was put out in April. There have been comments throughout. The final EIR was put out in August. The notice was given for Planning Commission, etc. Yes.
Nothing in this motion modifies that in any way?
No.
The 24-day period was already, or will be met as far as the Planning Commission hearing is concerned?
Yes.
And this reduction is consistent with the state law on the development agreement?
It's consistent with the state law and it's consistent with other projects that have come before you.
It is a slight modification from our standard procedure, but it's a modification that we've made traditionally in the past for other projects when timelines require.
That's correct.
All right. So just in order to address some of the concerns that Mr. Zine raised, and because there is a reduction in the time frame, the one thing, I mean, I think this seems perfectly reasonable to do, provided the public has ready access to the actual development agreement. So by what means is the development agreement itself made publicly accessible?
I may need planning to help me out on this. I know that all of our documents that were released are up on the city's website. I'll need to confirm whether or not planning has the development agreement up on the website.
Okay, so if we could just verify that, and then I'd also ask that each of the council offices be provided with a copy of the development agreement so that we have the opportunity to effectively weigh in within that shortened time frame prior to the council hearing. I think that would be helpful to all of our offices as well.
It is all on the planning website.
And it's already available on the planning website. Okay, yes. Thank you very much.
Ms. Perry to close, and then we'll go to public comment.
Mr. Miller, if you could just reiterate what takes place once the council has approved, and assuming the mayor agrees, and we have completed the legislative process, then again, just review, if you can, what takes place next.
The following council approval would be the time frame established under state law for challenging the environmental documentation. And that process should run its course again if the council does approve it on the 28th. Then the challenge period starts. There's a 30-day period to challenge, and then a period after that to resolve that challenge. And that time will run its course in March of next year, which is consistent with the time frame that the NFL has announced that they want to make a decision on team relocations.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Perry. I'm going to call 3 people. I'd like each and every one of you.
My name is Eric Ades. I am with the Play Fair at Farmers Field Coalition. The Play Fair at Farmers Field Coalition has been working with residents of Pico Union, South LA, and downtown from the beginning of this development process. And at the time that we started, we were very concerned that the impacts and the issues related to the population of those living around the stadium would be skipped over to rush this process through. Unfortunately, we've seen that happen. People have mentioned the development EIR process that occurred a few months ago, where folks are given 45 days to read a 10,000-page draft EIR. That was at the time insufficient in terms of its analysis of the impacts that the stadium would have on downtown and South LA and Pico Union communities. We were concerned then, and we are still concerned. We are against reducing the public notice hearing to 10 days. And it's important to note, too, that reducing the period only puts this project at greater risk. The analysis of the EIR is insufficient. There are mitigation efforts around parking, transit, traffic, population, housing, green space that need to be addressed. And if we slow down, we could address those right now. But if we rush it through, we are putting the project at further risk by skipping over the necessary analysis that needs to go into this project, which is going to affect the communities around the stadium for decades. And because of that, we are against reducing the public notice hearing. We've heard a lot about the urgency to get this done, to get a stadium, to get a team here. We also want to represent the fact that there's an extreme urgency of the residents to protect the community health and the livelihoods of those who are going to be living with the impacts of this stadium for decades, those living in the immediate communities of Pico Union, South LA, and downtown. So we are against reducing the public notice period to 10 days, and we hope that City Council will do a better job of representing the interests and needs of those who are most vulnerable and those who will bear the brunts of that. We have said from the outset that we are not against the stadium project being built, but we are against it being built on the backs of those who will be most impacted, which is poor and low-income communities of color that live around the stadium. So we hope that you will vote against reducing the period. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no more speakers on the queue. Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote on this item. If you would please open the roll, close the roll, and then tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay.